I still remember the way my hands shook when I got the text. So, would you like to go out with me this Saturday? It was from Arjun, the boy I'd secretly liked for months, though I never admitted it to anyone, not even my best friend. I must have read that single line at least 15 times before typing a reply. My heart was racing like it had a drum set inside it. My fingers hovered over the screen, deleting and retyping the same sentence. Sure, I'd love to. When I finally pressed send, I threw my phone onto the bed and buried my face in the pillow. I couldn't believe it. My first real date. The days leading up to Saturday stretched longer than summer afternoons. Everything suddenly felt like preparation. I tried on half my wardrobe. Jeans that felt too casual, dresses that felt too much, tops that were too bright, sweaters that looked too plain. Each night I practiced smiling in the mirror, telling myself, don't be too nervous, don't overthink, just be you. But of course, my brain was an expert in overthinking. What if I said something silly? What if he found me boring? What if, worst of all, he realized he didn't actually like me that way? When Saturday came, my nervousness mixed with excitement, like fizzy soda bubbles inside me. He was waiting for me outside the cafe we'd picked, standing there with his hands stuffed in his jacket pockets. When he saw me, his face broke into a smile so genuine that, for a moment, I forgot how anxious I'd been. Hey, he said, his voice warm and a little nervous too. Hey, I replied, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. There was a pause, a slightly awkward one, but then he gestured toward the cafe doors. Shall we? We walked in, and the soft hum of conversation, clinking cups, and the smell of roasted coffee beans wrapped around us. We found a table near the window, sunlight spilling across the wood. At first, it was small talk, school, classes, music. I stirred my iced latte, so much the ice cubes were probably dizzy. But slowly, we both began to relax. He told me about how he once tried baking cookies, but forgot to add sugar, and his whole family teased him for weeks. I laughed so hard, I nearly spilled my drink. I admitted that I still sleep with a nightlight sometimes, because I hate complete darkness. I braced myself for a joke, but instead he said, that's kinda cute, and my cheeks burned. Somehow, our words grew heavier, deeper. He talked about wanting to travel someday, to see places he'd only read about. I told him about my dream of writing stories that people would actually want to read. For a while, the world outside disappeared, leaving just us and our voices weaving a little cocoon of connection. After coffee, neither of us wanted to go home yet. The afternoon was gentle, the sky painted in soft blues with drifting clouds. He asked if I wanted to walk, and I nodded. We strolled through the park, and I kept noticing the way his hand swung, just a little closer to mine. I wondered if he would hold it. I wondered if I wanted him to. My heart already knew the answer, but my nerves kept whispering, not yet, not yet. We passed kids flying kites, couples on benches, a man playing guitar near the fountain. Every little detail felt sharper, more alive, as if the world knew this was important for me. At one point, a gust of wind blew my hair right into my face. I fumbled to push it away, embarrassed, but then he reached out gently and tucked the loose strands behind my ear. My breath caught. Neither of us said anything, but the silence was louder than words. We found ourselves sitting on a bench by the fountain, watching the water glitter in the sunlight. You know, he said after a while, I was terrified to ask you out. My eyes widened. Really? Why? He laughed nervously. Because I thought you were way out of my league. I blinked, my cheeks heating. That's funny. I thought the same about you. We stared at each other then, both of us stunned into quiet honesty. The laughter that followed was soft, almost shy, but it felt like something unlocked between us. As the sky deepened toward evening, we knew we'd have to go home soon. But neither of us moved from the bench. He turned slightly toward me. Can I ask you something? Sure, I said, my voice quieter than usual. Would it be weird if I... He stopped, glanced away, then looked back at me. His eyes were searching mine, waiting. My heart was thudding so loud I was sure he could hear it. I knew what he was asking without him finishing the sentence. I smiled nervously. Maybe not. For a moment, he leaned closer, and the world seemed to hold its breath. But then a group of kids ran past us, shrieking with laughter, and the moment broke. We both laughed too, a little embarrassed, a little relieved. By the time he walked me home, the streetlights had begun to glow. We stood in front of my house, both lingering as though neither wanted to say goodbye. Today was, he began, really nice. I finished for him. He grinned, and I felt my chest swell with something warm and certain. Can we do this again? He asked. Yes, I said without hesitation. And before leaving, He raised his hand, almost as if to wave, but then, with a nervous laugh, he reached forward and squeezed mine for a brief second, just long enough to send electricity racing through me. When I finally stepped inside my room, I collapsed onto the bed, hugging my pillow, grinning so wide my cheeks ached. It wasn't perfect. There were pauses, awkward laughs, almost moments. But maybe that's what made it unforgettable. Because it was real. My first date.